if your Swiss chard does not look exactly like this when you're taking it to the market, then definitely you're leaving out some good yield and money in the dirt. See, it's harvest time, and you see for Swiss chard, harvest time does not mean the end of the cycle. So you see for Swiss chard, harvest time is actually the critical reset point for your entire crop. You see, most growers just make the cut and just walk away. But if you want a true cut and come again crop that turns out volumes and good quality produce that will be attractive in the market, what you do next after harvesting, the next 48 hours after harvesting, really matters. So today I'll be walking you through my exact post-harvest management routine. So I'll be tackling weed control, top dressing, and how I am able to manage to ensure that these beds produce to the maximum and a good deal. So once the heavy canopy of the mature leaves is harvested, so now the soil is exposed to the sunlight, and now the weeds take advantage of that. At that point now, once I done the harvesting, cleared all, harvested all the mature leaves, I do the weeding mainly by pulling off the weeds manually to avoid. So what I do is manual weeding. I prefer doing manual weeding to avoid damaging the shallow roots of the Swiss chard, and again also avoid damaging the drip tips as well. But you can as well, depending on the severity of the weeds, you can also use a tool to help you out to pull out the weeds. So ensure that you clear out all the weeds and leave it clean. So this is the result. This is what you want to end up with: a clean, well weeded bed. See, once after harvesting, I've cleared all the weeds, and if you notice, I'm collecting all the weeds that I've uprooted, to make sure I uproot them completely. What I'm doing is I'm piling them up. So we heap all the weeds that we generate here, pile them up, and put them up into a compost. And then now the compost, once it's ready, we later bring it back into the farm, which forms a good baseline of our soil health. Again, for weeding, the rule of thumb: if you're able to see the soil in between the plants, do your weeding. But if you're not able to see the soil in between your plants, then that means you've waited too long. Yeah, now that there is no weed competition, it's time to refuel. You see, anytime you snap off those leaves, you are literally carrying away nutrients off your farm. And that's why now, and you see for Swiss chard, it's quite heavy on the nitrogen, quite a heavy nitrogen feeder. So that's why now, every month after, monthly as a routine, I do my top dress, mainly with the fertilizer. Like in this case today, I'll be doing a top dress with a fertilizer that is rich in nitrogen to be able now to boost the nutrients, because after the harvest. So for the top dress, we do about 5 to 10 grams. So basically, I just use a bottle top. So what you do, we apply the fertilizer right at the root zone, just under the drip tape, slightly incorporate it and bury. So the advantage of this now, do it slightly under the drip tape. Immediately now the water kicks in, it immediately dissolves, and the crop is able to immediately uptake the nutrients. So when you're doing your top dress, you need to be extremely careful. You see here at the center, the crown of the crop, you need to be extremely careful not to drop the fertilizer granules on that part, because on the central crown of the Swiss chard plant, because this might burn the plant, and this will most probably stunt the growth of the plant. So you make sure you just slightly away from, just next to the roots under the drip tape, being careful not to pour the fertilizer on top, on the crown the plant. You see, the advantage of this targeted top dress with the fertilizer rich in nitrogen is that it gives the crop that nitrogen push that it requires to be able to push out those dark green leaves, yeah, and healthy dark green leaves that the crop requires. So with this, it gives that burst of nutrients that the crop needs at this stage. Our approach does not just stop at feeding the crop; it also involves protecting the crop. You see, under this lush, moist beds, there is a silent yield killer that sits on these crops, and that's something that we need to be on the lookout for before it's too late. So this is what you need to be on the lookout for. These are the leaf spots. These are fungal disease that can easily clear your crop, easily damage and ensure, affect the yield of your crop. So once I'm done harvesting this, need to be able to take care of this issue. First of all, of course, by getting rid of all the affected leaves, and then doing a control to stop spread of the fungal infection. So when humidity rises and you see those telltale signs of those black spots on your crop, you need to take action immediately. You can do a targeted fungicide, to make sure you stop the spread of that fungal infection. Targeting the spores, the fungal spores, so to ensure that they don't spread further. Because if you let the fungal infection spread, the crops turn yellow, the quality deteriorates, and definitely your crop will not be attractive to the customer. And chances are very high that this crop the disease can spread completely, and even your crop can dry off completely, and you lose out on your crop. And you want to keep harvesting this crop for a little bit longer. So anytime you see any slight chance or any slight sign of a fungal infection, quickly work on that to stop the spread. So you can use something like a copper-based fungicide, but anytime you apply any chemical intervention, make sure you observe the pre-harvest interval and protect your crop and your profits as well. You see, once the weeding is done and the top dress is done, the next step is hydration. Ensure now you properly water your Swiss chard. So what I've done now is I've let open the drip tapes. You can see the water is dripping slowly, but surely now it will completely drench this bed with time, and ensure now that the fertilizer that I've added as a top dress dissolves properly. You see, Swiss chard is mainly water, so an immediate moisture, especially immediately after top dress, is what now gives it be able to dissolve the nutrients, and it allows the crop cells to be able to uptake the nutrients. That now is what gives you that vibrant deep green color. The crop now grows lush. That's what now gets that attractive, huge, lush and green leaves that do well in the market. And you'll notice in about 10 to 14 days, you'll notice that now these leaves will start to turn that dark green color, and that's when now you know that your crops is uptaking your nutrients properly, and that the top dress is working. So managing your crop after harvest is what exactly guarantees your next harvest. But that's not necessarily the case, because you see how you start, from the bed preparation, how you transplant your seedlings really matters. And that's what probably I want you to check out this video here of how I go about transplanting my Swiss chard. The step by step, I'll take you through step by step how I got about the spacing and all that. So see you there.